We're in the Woodlands today hunting for things to do macro and close-up photography of. It's an absolutely beautiful autumn day here in Michigan, and we've come out to the Pine River Nature Center to do some nature photographs and some macro work. I was hoping to find some mushrooms. So far I haven't found any, but I did find this one mossy stump that I found pretty fascinating. I've set up the Fujifilm X-S10 with a 50-140 lens, and we are focused in on this stump. The f2.8 aperture of this lens gives us a really nice shallow depth of field, and that backlight provides some nice separation for that moss, almost like he has a full head of hair. I could be so lucky. I've set this up with a 2-second self timer and the focus zone right in that center of that stump. So what I've done is I've zoomed in on this little stump again with the moss on top. I have the 50-140 Fuji lens set up on the camera and my 10mm extension tube. That brings me pretty darn close to this. I've set up for a focus stack with 20 shots on the focus stack with a 1-second interval between and using the electronic shutter. You can see my composition here, not necessarily the greatest composition in the world, but it is something. I've got it set to a 2-second timer, 1-second intervals, and the electronic shutter. So let's go ahead and start that and see what that looks like. I found my second subject for focus stacking, and that's this lone leaf stuck on this mossy tree. And we won't need as many images, so we're going to go into the menu and we're going to set this up a little different. I think 20 is going to be plenty. So for this, so if I do focus bracket setting, manual, and instead of 40, let's just do 20, 10-step interval, 1 second, we'll back up, and then we're also going to set that self timer on as it goes off automatically with a 2-second self timer. So then we should be all set right there. I found one more subject here, and that's this spiderweb, and it's being backlit, but the problem is there's a little bit of wind out here today. Look, we can see I have this set up, and I have it set up that the closest focus point right down in here that it'll be, and I'm going to try to get it focused all the way through. 40 shots, and we're in a really still time right now, so I'm going to go ahead and fire this off. Nothing like making this as infinitely difficult as I can. I think it's time to go back into the studio, put these images into the computer, and see what we get. want to bring us back into the studio, and I can show you a little bit of my workflow about how I get the photos that I shot focus stacked into a single image. As you recall, I did this spiderweb image right here, and this is the first shot. I ended up with a number of photos, and you can see them over here on the side. And then as we can go through, we can see how the focus moved through each one of these. Now, one of the issues we did have in this is that the wind was blowing that spiderweb around a little bit, so the images are not all perfectly aligned. I'm going to do another video in the future, and I'm going to do a focus stack more in a studio or a controlled indoor setting so I can show a little better about how this process works. So I imported all the photos from the SD card in the camera into Capture One, and then did some basic edits and for the color and clarity and contrast, and then applied that to all the photos in this focus stack. And they're all the ones marked with this blue square right here. Then I selected them all, simply with Control A, and selected them all, and then did an export of them to make it much faster, actually to a JPEG. And this is after I did all the adjustments on the RAW file or the RAF file. So I sent them all to a folder in a JPEG with the intention of opening them in Affinity Photo. So let's open Affinity Photo right here. And then what we're going to do in Affinity Photo is we're going to file, and we're going to do a new focus merge. That's what they call it in Affinity Photo, is focus merge. So we're going to select that, and then we're going to add the images to merge. And then to add the images to merge, this is all the images. I actually ended up with 31 shots in here as we went from the focus from the front to the back. And so there they are. I put them in this folder called Spiderweb. We're going to grab all of these, and again, we'll just do a Control A or Command A to grab all of these. And then we're going to open them, and the software is going to automatically merge these together. So we've got all these images selected, and then we're going to open them, and this is going to kind of run automatically once we click OK. And this is actually kind of fun to watch. And it's going to import all these, and you can see that it's going to, first of all, it's going to align them best it can, and now you can see how the wind was blowing around the spider web a little bit as it went around. So it aligns the sources best it can. And then here it is building, and this is in real time. This is building all the masks necessary for that focus merge or focus stack. And there we are. That's it. Then here, right here where it says sources, this is each one of the individual images, and then up at the top where it says focus merged image, that's what we see. That's our merged image. But you can see there is a little bit of ghosting here where it got confused a little bit. So if we go through and we just start, click the eyeball here, and we just start looking at just that one image, let's kind of go to the back and let's find where that area, this area right here, is in its sharpest. So that's pretty good right there. And then this keeps going to the back, 24, 25, that one's pretty good there. So this one right to here. So if we do that, and then we turn the eyeball off, now what I can do is I can paint a little bit with this. Let's zoom in a little bit and kind of see what's going on. And I'm modifying the mask is what I'm about to do in this area right here. So let's do that, and then I'll make that a little bit sharper. Right there, right to there. And I actually want to go to one of these other ones, I think 25, for the balance of this right here. And we'll do this. And that just sharpens that area up right there. And you can see then we've removed that little bit of where the specular highlights, or the fact that the web blew in the wind and it confused it a little bit. We have the same kind of thing going on here that confuses it quite a bit. So that's does make it a little more difficult. And you can see there's quite a bit right here. So again, it's the same thing. If I, and actually that is right about where that needs to be. There's a better one right there. So let's do that, turn this back on, and again, it automatically has the brush that I need to make that what it needs to be. And there we go. So it looks to me like this was the same web here, and it blew a number of times in the wind. So we can correct this piece as well, just like that. Well, that's it. That's my technique and my process for focus merging with Capture One and Affinity Photo. Hope you like this video. If you're interested in other macro photography, I've got a whole playlist that's pulling up on the screen right here. And when I have that other video ready that's going to show the focus stacking in a more controlled environment, I'll have that video linked right here. I'm James Fisher. This is Vintage Inside Photography. Thanks for coming along on the journey.